What's up everyone, and welcome to another cryptocurrency market update. In this video we're going to be talking about Bitcoin as well as Ethereum, so let's get into it. So here on the monthly time frame we're looking at Bitcoin. We just closed the last month with a very strong bullish candle here. Good for continuation in my opinion, with an increase in bull volume. We are overbought on the RSI at about 92.16, but that does not necessarily mean that we cannot go a little bit higher, or maybe a significant amount higher, given that we've been overbought since November. So you can stay overbought in a bull trend for quite some time, so it's not uncharacteristic to see that. The next monthly resistance level for us using the pivot indicator is going to be this level right up here, but it's 63.2 roughly. And if you don't know how to use the pivot indicator, it is a very useful tool that I love to use when I'm trading crypto and investing into it. You can check out our video which lays out how to use the pivot indicator to your advantage. Let's go to the weekly time frame here. Weekly time frame is showing us that we are getting the higher highs and higher lows, which is what we want to see if we're a bull. We're continuing to see the rise in price in Bitcoin. The bull trend is still intact. We had this concerning double bearish divergence here because we had one bearish divergence here and then another bearish divergence here with higher highs in price but lower highs in the RSI, and that's telling us that we're decreasing in strength on the push up. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't go higher. Like I said, these signals are just telling us to be aware that we're losing strength and we're getting, overbought. We're significantly overbought otherwise, rather. So when you think about making a decision, when I think about making a decision with my money, I'm always thinking about what are the high time frames telling us? How close are we to, how much runway do we have left for this to continue going up before eventually, given having an understanding of market cycles, eventually it's going to come down as well. So we need to be aware of that. So the weekly time frame, the candle that we have right here that we printed, we've officially made this a higher low, and we have a green volume bar for this week. Most likely this candle closes in about 9.5 hours. If it closes like this or even higher, that's going to be bullish and good for continuation into probably the 63K level at minimum. Now let's look at the daily time frame here and see what we have going on. So on the daily time frame, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, this gray level right here is our main support level. We did not get down to that on this most recent dip down in price just yet. You can see today we're trying to kind of pull up a little bit early there, and I'll talk about why that is on the lower term time frames. But this is our main support level. If we do end up coming down to this in the next couple days, then that will be a good sign for price to bounce off of, I would say. That would be a good level that I've been watching for several days now. And something else to keep in mind that is interesting is this right here. Now this is, it's kind of in a weird spot, this inverse head and shoulders. If we look at it, we would have our left shoulder here, our head, our right shoulder here. Now if we look at that, it's kind of weird considering this was the drawdown that we would be reversing, because this is what we would call a reversal pattern. So a bullish reversal pattern like this is telling us that the price coming down, the down run that we've had right here is over. So it's not a very long downturn. You can see right here, here's an example of an inverse head and shoulders that had a more significant downturn before we had the inverse head and shoulders that played out here. So if this is to play out, this is a very significant like size for this pattern. You can see that if we take the measurement from the head and we pull this up to the neckline is what it's called, and that's where the left and right shoulders meet, you can see that that's about $9,700. So then what you do, if you want to see where the pattern will play out to, you can take your measurement tool again, you go right from the neckline, you click there, and you pull that up $9,700. And that's going to take you right up to about 69.8. So that is a pretty significant rise in price. The last inverse head and shoulders pattern played out perfectly right up to the target and then had this downturn here before we eventually, had this nice recovery here. Now, a couple other things, like ideas that I had and thoughts on the current price action on Bitcoin. You can see this low right here that we had from the 31st of March. When we came down and we wicked into this level and then came up, we had just grabbed the liquidity above this high, and liquidity means the stop losses got triggered there. The big players in the market had to push the price to this area so they could trigger the stop losses and fill their short positions. So that's what they did. The price snapped down right here. We then went below the previous day's low and formed a low right here, came up, wicked above this high to then get the people that went short right here out of their positions, and then went down again. Now we wicked into the bottom of this wick, and there's just a lot of liquidity grabbing here. You can see that, like, to move the price around, you need to trigger stop losses. The whales need to trigger stop losses, because if they do not, they're not going to be able to fill their positions without moving the price significantly. If you have $50 million, you need to trigger some stop losses to be able to fill your positions. Otherwise, if you just try and execute your order using like a market order, it's going to move the price significantly potentially. So that's where, people, that's why people push the price into certain levels that they know at this key high or at this key low, there's going to be stop losses there. So right below this low, we know that there's going to be stop losses there because of the fact that if we look right here, you can see that we had above average volume on that candle, and then we had a subsequent rally up right here. So there's going to be stop losses below that. We wicked down into that level. Now, what I would like to see for me to, for this to continue being a good level for me, is for us to not have a rise and then subsequent fall into it. Because if we do, that's going to tell us that we're in a confirmed daily bear trend. And that's not what we want. We want this to just be chop and then go into our level and then go off to the races. We'll see if we end up getting that, but let's go to the lower term time frames and look at what Bitcoin's bouncing off of. On the 12-hour time frame, okay. Hang on a second here, folks. Okay. Welcome back. So, on the 12-hour time frame, there's a couple things to look at, and the first of which is this purple level right here. So this purple level right here is this candle right here. Now this is where we are trending upwards bullishly. So right here we have a down candle before we push up and push for new highs. This is going to be a support level when we retest it because of the fact that initially it was resistance right here. You can see price ran into this level and then rejected off of it. So this level is going to be support on a retest. You can see right here, we wick into that perfectly and we trade up from there. Now, unfortunately, my bid was right here in the middle of that zone. I did not get filled because I did not have a bid on the top of this level, which I clearly should have. And now we are going up. Now the other area to keep in mind here is this yellow zone. Now this yellow zone is this 12-hour resistance right here, where we're now trending bearishly on the 12-hour time frame. And the way we know that is by looking at the trend of highs and lows. So we have a high here, a low right here, a lower high in comparison to this one, and then a lower low, signifying the bears have the momentum right here with this candle. They signify that, and then this candle closes below this low as well. And now it makes this level where people were buying Bitcoin a resistance level on a retest. Now the way that I would, what I would really like to see, if this ends up being an actual valid or an invalid resistance level, I would like to see something like this where we go right through this level without rejecting off of it once, and then we retest this level. And if we do that, then that is going to be a very strong buy zone for me. I personally will be buying. I personally will be buying a lot of Bitcoin if we end up getting that scenario to play out. So that's currently what I'm watching right now. I don't want to go short on this zone right now, and the reason for that is we're in a daily and weekly and monthly bull trend. So when you're in those high time frame bull trends, doing a short-term hourly, because we're on the 12-hour time frame, we have to remember a short-term hourly trade is going to be riskier because we're running it counter trend. We're doing it on a lower term time frame and we're running it counter to the prevailing high time frame trends. So you want to make sure that when you're doing this, that you're doing a short-term that you're keeping in mind the high time frame rather bias that you have. So if in the high time frames you're saying, all right, I think it's going to keep going higher, then you don't want to short this on the 12-hour time frame because it's not consistent with what you think on the high time frames. So this purple level right here is the last level to look at on the 12-hour time frame. This is our support level right here, and we had both of these candles close above. We went down into it, we wicked off of it right here, wicked up, came down, second test, third test, fourth test, we pushed through it, but we didn't close below it. If you look really close, we did not close below it. We closed near it below it, but we didn't close quite below it. So it's still a valid support level, so this should push us up to the top of it at minimum, probably right up to this yellow zone. Now the question is the yellow zone going to hold or not? That's the main thing we're watching. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, you can also look at what we're dealing with here. The 4-hour time frame is currently trying to change the trend here back to the bull's favor. Now, if they do change it back to the bull's favor, I will probably open a very small long position on spot, just waiting to see if that 12-hour and daily inverse head and shoulders plays out. Because that would be, we grab the liquidity right here and then immediately make a bull trend back in the bull's favor. That would be very good, in my opinion, for the bulls' continuation, potentially through this zone. If we do end up forming that 4-hour bull trend with the higher low and then higher high with two candle closes, this one and the next subsequent one, above this high right here, that will make this black candle a support level. So the black candle right here will be the main support level that one would look to long on a retest, and then that you could take that up above the yellow zone if you think that we're going to go through the yellow zone. All right, let's look at Ethereum. So Ethereum had this inside bar on the monthly time frame last month, and then this month we've broken above it, and we're now currently at all-time high levels. We're very similar situation to Bitcoin. We're very overbought on the RSI. Declining bull volume on this one though, but I think that that could change this month. If we look at the weekly time frame for Ethereum, we're in very, very good position for continuation with this consolidation period right here, and then boom, we're getting this push up in price once again. Now the consolidation, because it's kind of like a triangle pattern or a pennant. What you can do is you can then see, kind of what would be the expected move. If we measure from top to bottom, it's about $770. So $770 from the top of this is going to be about $2,800. So that would be like where it potentially could go. If we look at the pivots, we're currently running into one right now. You can see that this is holding up currently. The R4 weekly pivot. The next one after that is up here at about 2,500. So that's pretty good if we get above this R4 pivot to potentially go to that 2,500 level. If we go to the daily time frame here, there's a couple things to note. One, the Ichimoku Cloud, very good position here for continuation. Tenkin above the Kijun, both of those above the cloud, cloud's green, and prices above all of that. Now today we're getting a pretty bullish candle so far. We'll see if that continues, but where are we bouncing off of? Well, if we look at the 12-hour time frame, actually before we go to the 12-hour time frame, this is the trade that I'm currently looking to take if we end up getting some significant retrace down to this gray level. This gray level was the level right here where we should have rejected off of it, but we did not. We pushed right through it and closed both of these candles above it. So a retest of that will be very, very good for a buy, in my opinion. I don't know if we're going to get down to that zone. It's a pretty significant drawdown from here to get there. If we look at the daily, we're already starting to try and pull up from here. And if we look at the 12-hour time frame, there's a couple things I want to point out here. So the first thing I want to point out is this gray zone right here. So this gray zone was a zone we talked about yesterday. And when we talked about this zone, we were talking about, it held as resistance here, here, and then we pushed above it. So a retest of this would have been a good buy. We did not get quite all the way down to that level and have since pushed up pretty significantly from that level. If we form a lower high and come down into it, it probably will still hold on the first test. So that's still a valid level in terms of the support that we're dealing with. But let's look at the before we go to the 4-hour time frame, let's look at the Ichimoku Cloud. Ichimoku Cloud is looking very good here with these getting really close to each other and tightening up, and the cloud is pretty thin. So this could mean a rapid increase in price relatively soon. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, there's two levels to watch. We just went into both of them in the last I would say last 24-hour period. Here's one right here, this zone, which we'll color purple. This was a resistance level before we pushed up in price. So you can see right here when we had this white candle, we pushed down, up, and then down right here, making this a high and this a low, and then pushed up and closed above this level. So this black candle where people were selling Ethereum on a retest will be where people will buy their Ethereum back. And this is exactly what happened right here. We wicked into this level perfectly, and now we're currently running into this resistance level right here, which is this white candle from April 3rd. And we're going to color this yellow. So this is our main resistance level. Now, the scenario that I like here, if we are to be talking about entries, where I will be looking to make an entry is if we get the scenario that we talked about on Bitcoin, where we push right through the zone and then we retest this, and then we go up for new highs. That's going to be what I'm going to personally look for. Otherwise, we'll see if we end up getting a lower high in comparison to this one, and then another higher low or lower low. But you can see we're getting declining bull volume coming into this zone, so we might reject off of this on the first test. The reason this is a resistance zone, real quick, last thing, is you can see this candle right here. We had our high, we pushed down right here, have a low, and then we, on the same candle, pushed above the previous candle's high and formed a high. So this is a lower high in comparison to this one, and then we had a lower low in the next subsequent candles. And because of that, we had the bear pattern that we look for, which is the high, low, lower high, lower low. And so that is the main resistance level that we're dealing with. Above that, you can use the pivot indicator to get an idea for where the next resistance levels will be. On the hourly time frame, we're at 2220. On the daily, we are at the R1, which is at 2116. Which we kind of already rejected off of right here. But the next one after that is going to be this level right here at about 2300. And then, like I said, on the weekly time frame, next resistance level will be the 2500 level. So that's all I got for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I hope that was helpful for you. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And until next time, onward and upward.